Ai of Online Healing Community, and welcome to Creating Space. I'll be your host once a month on topics related to arts, culture, and community. And today we're going to talk about the Indigenous worldview on healing and well being with none other than an Ifugao elder and Mumbaki from the Cordillera. We are so grateful for this opportunity generously given to us by our guests who even traveled down to their town proper just to be with us this afternoon. So our guest, Manong Mamerto Tindogan, is an eighth generation Mumbaki or shaman. He's from the northern Philippines and he was initiated by his father into the lineage. In 1992, he attended graduate studies in the US on international affairs and geography. However, he chose wood carving for his profession, drawing on the skills he had learned growing up in Ifugao, northern Philippines. He is a mentor to a lot of students on indigenous healing and spirituality, a master in energy healing, and also teaches Qigong and Tai Chi classes. So, friends, help me welcome Manong Mamerto Tindogan. Hello. Good
Thank
afternoon.
you. Thank you, Ai. It's an honor for me to be part of your program. And I'm excited to share what will come up. I see myself as a bridge. I'm just breaching knowledge or help uh, whoever is ready to remember what we already know but have forgotten.
All right, definitely. So thank you and shout out also to John Ray Nagas for connecting us with his teacher, Manong Mamerto. So thank you so much, John Ray. And yes, the honor and privilege is ours, no, Manong Mamerto. We're so happy to have you today. And so, as you mentioned earlier, we're here to remember what we already know and probably just forgot about our well-being and about community and about our heritage. But first, could you tell us more about your personal journey? And for those who are not familiar with your community, can you tell us your story? So, from being a kid growing up in your community to being initiated as a Mumbaki.
I have difficulty hearing, so please forgive me if I have to ask you to repeat questions.
No problem. So, is this better,
Yeah, that is
Manong? Can you
better
hear
when you
me
put
better?
that closer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So again, I mentioned earlier that yes, through your help, we're so grateful that we're going through a journey of remembering today about what we've probably just forgotten in relation with healing, well-being, our own culture, our own lineage, heritage. Um, but before we dive into that, could you share more about your own story so that those who are not familiar with your community, your group in the Cordilleras can learn more about your way of living and um, how how you grew up as a kid and eventually became a Mumbaki. So what's the process of that you went through to become who you are today?
Thank you. Yes, here is my story. I will try to make it as short as possible because it can take a whole month if I will tell everything. So
Definitely. Thank you.
I am very lucky to have grown up in a village that was almost untouched by the outside world. From birth till 13, the village where I grew up, I will just describe life as very solemn because everybody knows their role. Kids are kids, their parents are kids, but the whole community actually take care of children. And when I say solemn, it's because when it comes to spirituality, it's almost like an autopilot thing, where the leader of the community, I'll just say chieftain, for example, will say it's a holiday today, then everybody will follow because they know the rule. So when I went to school and was baptized, I started to believe what I hear in school and what I hear from catechism, Catholic religion, until I went to high school and I became serious. I embodied the teaching of the catechism and I tried to be a scientist. So I focused my mind on the subjects that are being taught in school. Then I went to college and I started to question, my belief system and also the new education that I dove into. It was when I went to higher education, when I immigrated to the US, that sort of brought me back to my childhood upbringing. It was sickness. I got sick before I even graduated. I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease. It's an infection of the inner ear, and the symptoms include severe headaches, ringing in the ear, vertigo, and loss of strength. It was the vertigo that I cannot really stand. So I was sick for a long time. So from 1994, imagine that, up to 2005. In 2005, I met a shaman, a lady shaman of Native American Indian descent. I attended an international health exposition and I was attracted to this booth with a tall lady, the shaman. I went there and looked around and I saw a book she displayed. The title is Soul Retrieval. So I said, I'm not going to read this. Just explain to me what is this. And the reason I asked that is because I was reminded of my culture that we do soul retrieval. So when she explained, I was very familiar because it's similar to what I grew up with. So I decided to have healing from her. So we scheduled, and I had a tremendous experience that made me go back seriously to the shamanic life. Is that enough background? Or else the
Wow,
background will just take all the whole hour?
thank you for that. Wow, so that's very interesting, and I find that common in a lot of stories of people who discover their own life purpose or journey towards healing. It usually starts with a question, or it usually starts with a challenge, such as that getting sick, and then this big a whole series of events begin that leads towards that realization, right? Like you mentioned earlier, that because of the Western education you got from being in elementary and high school, you kind of uh, forgot or put aside what you already knew growing up. But because you were reminded through that bout of illness that you have that, through this lady that you met, it's very interesting that there's always that kind of question or challenge that starts our journey. Uh, so from there, what what were the succeeding events that led you to really take on that initiation into being a Mumbaki?
Yes. So after that profound experience I had with the shaman, I called my father because he was very sick at the time. He actually stopped doing Baki for a year because of the pressure from my sisters who are lay leaders in the Catholic belief. So he actually stopped performing rituals. But when I called him and I told him that I am going to come home and you will initiate me into the shamanic path, I believe that he held on to life because he knew that at least one of his children is willing to inherit. So, because of financial difficulty, I did not go home right away. So, from 2005, I started reading any books on metaphysics, uh, and I attended many workshops on different healing modalities, including the use of stones, color, sound, and so on. Then I decided to be initiated first in the Andean shamanic path because uh, I met this lady who is who helped me, and then I ended up meeting more and more people when I attended workshops. So I decided to be initiated first in the US. Also, as a fourth level shaman in the Andean tradition. It was only in 2007 that I came home and I started the process of learning from my father. I was not initiated right away because I had to follow the tradition of uh, seriously following protocols like a ritual has to be performed first to see if you are indeed one of the chosen Mumbaki. So he did that and he said, I am. But it was in 2011 that I came home and he actually initiated me. The initiation consists of, or it involves connecting you to the different group of deities. In the Ifugao tradition, there are basically 1,000 deities, and they are grouped. Each group have their own specialization. So when you are initiated, they will connect you to these different groups, and then you start learning their names, and then you learn the different prayers because rituals have different purposes. Some are for healing sicknesses, some for healing plants, and animals and performing weddings, for example. So you have to learn all of those different rituals. I am not halfway yet from learning everything. I have the list of all the deities, but I did not memorize them all. Am I making sense?
Yes, Manong, definitely. So, um, so we learned all of the deities. Oh, first of all, you went through a ritual, right? To like ask permission first if you were really meant to be a Mumbaki, and then after that, you went through all those lessons with your father or with other elders.
Yes. Uh, the initiation is usually done during an actual ritual,
Mm.
either the ritual after transplanting rice or the ritual while harvesting rice, the ripe rice. Then each Mumbaki who will connect to the group of deities will connect you. So when they feel that the group of deities that they invoke have descended, then it's through the wine that you connect with them. It's amazing. I cannot describe everything, but it once you experience or you either feel, you see, or you hear. I develop my sense of feeling first, and later on, I start to develop my clairvoyance. I can see.
Wow, that's so interesting, especially for our guests who are here this afternoon. And hesitant to ask about specifics because I know that a lot of our indigenous knowledge systems and practices, there's a level of sacredness with that, and some of these we are not allowed to just share with just anyone. So for those who are asking about the how the specific rituals look like, I think it's better to visit Manong and experience it for yourselves, because sometimes it also takes some you need to ask permission also, right, Manong, to if you're allowed to take part in such rituals.
Yes, it is a huge responsibility once you are initiated. And
Mm.
I like to adhere with the tradition of not just for show. I mean, when you perform ritual, it's serious. There are taboos
Mhm.
to be followed. So I am not a performer. I am a ritualist. And anybody is, of course, welcome to come visit. Uh, if you like to have to witness a ritual, then it's good to schedule ahead of time. So we will time it. So when there is really a ritual, then that's when you come. Because, like I said, we cannot just perform for the sake of showing people.
Yeah, exactly, because I remember an experience being in one of the indigenous communities in Bukidnon, and we even had to undergo a ritual to ask permission if our group will be allowed to go into the
Mhm.
community and to just immerse there. So in relation with this what you mentioned that you're not a performer, because I think that's one of the um misinterpretations or the wrong notions that people have about indigenous groups. It's like you're relegated to just, you know, your indigenous clothes, like, and dance and then chant. It's like you're seen as just performers in, you know, in especially in conferences and things like that. So I feel it's one important thing to emphasize that these are very sacred practices, and it's not something that we just request and then it's done in immediately. So can you tell us more about this, Manong? Like, there's this misconception about the cultural heritage and traditions. It's relegated just to that, for more into the performance.
Yeah, you were cut a few times, so let let me repeat if I got you
Okay.
right. So you mean when doing rituals? How can I see if I understood you? Uh,
I was, yeah. So I think that's it's part of the our years of colonization. So our the majority of the Filipino population tend to look at our indigenous brothers and sisters in that light, how the colonizers treated us, our ancestors. So in a way, there's lack of information and understanding about the sacredness of the practices that the indigenous peoples does. So sometimes, you know, the concept people have when we're talking about indigenous groups is more with the dress and more about the performances, the chant, and although of course that's an important part, but um, I think that's a very important aspect you mentioned, that I'm not a performer, I'm a ritualist. So it's one important thing for people to understand that, you know, these things are not just there for display, but it's very sacred.
sensation is so profound that there are many of us, many educated people, demonize uh, our ancestors and their practices. But what I can say is that everything is sacred, whether indigenous practices or modern practices. So what I like to say to everybody is that so long as you find genuine peace and happiness inside, then follow what you are currently following and respect other belief systems. Does that make sense?
Definitely, Manong. Thank you for that emphasis. Um, Someone was asking, how did you start your practice of Tai Chi and Qigong? Who was your teacher? Because I think this is also a Tai Chi practitioner.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that out. After my healing in 2005, I became serious with my Qigong and Tai Chi practice. I started learning in 1999, but I was more on the martial art and yeah, health benefit. But after my experience in 2005, I dug deeper. I went deeper into researching Tai Chi and Qigong. And what I found is that it is very shamanic in nature. Its origin is spiritual. But over time, the spiritual aspect of it is lost, especially when they started doing movie about kung fu and martial art. So the focus shifted from spiritual to the physical. So when I learn about the origin, the spiritual origin of Tai Chi and Qigong, I try to connect it with the Baki system, and it's all the same. You know, when you talk about spirituality, think about light. Light is light. It's just the name that's different from different languages, but it's all light. Am I making sense?
Definitely. So
So
it's
yeah, I'll just add something about the qigong and tai chi. I see the set of movements in tai chi as like ritual, performing a ritual, because when you are doing that set of movements, it connects you to the people who had been doing this ritual or movement in the past. And when you are doing certain movements, it connects you to different deities. It's all about energy. So colors, sound, and movement, they all have frequencies. So when you are focusing on one frequency, either color or movement, it automatically connects you to that lineage that I talk about.
that's a very interesting point that everything is universal and interconnected. We're just using various terms and languages for each of this, and it's you describe it as light. So everything, sound, colors, vibration, and it connects us to our even our ancestors and to everything and everyone. So we will just take a 2 minute break, Manong, and after this break, we will dive more into the indigenous worldview of healing and well-being.
I'd
Okay.
like to invite you to enroll the course Healing the Inner Child so I can show you my own process of healing as I guide you to find your own process as well. Together, let's embrace our journey to courage and our journey to healing. See you!
You are not alone, and people are here for you, and we're here for each other.
Here are our programs and courses for you.
All right, so we're back, and Manong, now can you guide us into remembering what our ancestors view and perspective, and even us as the descendants, how we can look at the concept of healing and well-being, especially now that we are in a global health crisis.
Right. Uh, Healing is like spirituality. It's a personal journey. So usually when I talk about healing, whatever works for you, you do it. Whether it's indigenous or modern, Reiki, pranic healing, the use of stone, the use of herbs, uh, whatever works for you, you do it. There's no right or wrong. We are all connected to the light that I mentioned earlier. So it is in our trusting our ability that we differ. Some trust more their ability to heal themselves. Some doubt, so they need help. And that's why they need other people or other healing techniques like the use of sound or herbs. I focus on movement and breathing because you are not dependent from outside influence. It's all within you. That's why I focus on proper posture and breathing and movements. We can all do moving. Everybody knows how to walk.
So that's a wonderful reminder. Healing is a personal journey. So whatever works for you, that's what you should do, right? And the reminder that we are all interconnected with the light, and it's entrusting our ability that we differ. So in relation with this, I'm just wondering, in our current situation, what have you, or have you received or intuited any message? What is this current global health crisis telling us as an entire human race?
I did not quite get you.
Okay. Hello? Can you hear me? Is
Now
this
I can
better?
hear you. Yes.
Okay. Yes, Manong. My question was more connected with our current global health emergency.
Uh huh.
Um, so, was there any message that you received or anything you've intuited about what this current global challenge is telling us as individuals, as societies, as an entire human race?
Yes. Yes. It was very clear to me that it's all about our connection with Mother Earth. Uh, Capitalism and organized religion sort of disconnected us from the earth. We lost our connection. So this pandemic thing is like a reminder for us to respect the earth. And it is tough because especially people who grew up in the cities where they are used with certain kind of living, where they become dependent from the stores and transportation, and it's life became like a competition to the extent that we destroy the earth uh, just to succeed. So this reminds us that we don't actually have to go anywhere. Just put some plants on the earth and the earth will give back food to you. But if you poison the earth, it will give back the poison to you. You are basically poisoning yourself because your physical body is earth. I'll add an example to this, brief one. I attended the demonstration in North Dakota, the no DAPL, or when they were uh, putting that pipeline across Native American land. So I attended the security meeting, and I shared the message that I got to this group of people. I told them that the message I got is what I just said earlier, that our physical body is earth. So when you talk about not poisoning the ocean, not poisoning the river, you start with yourself. Your body is made up of 75% water. Don't poison that 75% water. And then you talk about not poisoning the river and the ocean.
Wow, that's a very good reminder, and connected with, immunity, because immunity is our first defense from all these things, right? And when we're poisoning our body, our immune system um gets, it doesn't work. So there are many levels to that message you shared with us. And in relation, how do you think we can be better, or how can we change our ways so that we can have a better future and be more connected, or return to that sense of connection with the earth, with probably with each other, and and also the spirits, the great spirits.
It goes back to what I just said earlier, that our physical body is basically the earth. So the food that we eat, it becomes you. So it will come down to that. When uh, commercial farming was introduced and they started doing hybridization, this GMO thing started uh, becoming the uh, how shall I say it? It became like almost what we are supposed to do. Then that is when we became in trouble, because even if you eat a lot of food, but the nutrients are not there. When they started doing monoculture, where one plant is planted in thousands of acres, it basically reduces the nutrients in the body. So compared before, where a farmer plants different kinds of plants. So even if you eat just a little bit, especially when you subsidize this by picking up food from the wild, then imagine the nutrients that is there. You are automatically immune when you eat the uh, right kind of food.
Also, you wonderfully illustrated the interconnectedness of our food, farming, and health, and our well-being. No, it starts with what we do with our body and our um, practice in terms of all of these. And it's also connected with the nutrition, and probably the the old ways that we've already set aside in favor of what you mentioned, monocropping and all these current systems that are existing that brought all these about. So what else could you share with us? Like part of remembering all of this is also remembering um, our culture, our heritage, our
Mhm.
ancestors' perspectives. Although
Yes.
although you pointed out that even modern living is also has its positive points, and if you're okay with that, then then so be it. But another reason why we also became disconnected, and you were talking earlier about soul retrieval that your group
Yes.
practices. So,
Mhm.
what can you remind us in relation to this, our being disconnected with our sense of self in relation with
Mhm.
our culture and our ancestry?
Yes, I will just expand on the interconnectedness. Everything is connected. Our body, our emotions, our mind, and spirit. So I will just give you an example of how our government is dealing with this pandemic. They are thinking of the general welfare, and it is good. But when we consider emotions, you are happy when you are with your family. I talk about how I was raised in a village where everybody know one another. You feel safe. That is part of our immune system. When you are emotionally stable, when you are happy, then your immune system is up. So it's not just food. So I just hope that the government will take it easy, put into practice what freedom means. Say, for example, you outline the protocols, what you are not supposed to do and what you can do, and then let the people make a choice. Just imagine the emotional disturbance when one died and the children cannot be able to see because of this COVID thing. I would like to see my father if he died.
So that's another very crucial reminder that you're telling us all about. I think that's also one of the most important lessons that the lockdowns, this pandemic is teaching us. We've taken for granted our need for community, for connection, for um, being together, and and that's also affecting our entire being. So our emotions, affecting our health and all of that. So that's a wonderful reminder, Manong. Um, and do we have other questions at this point? So Christine Sumugoy is commented in our live stream. What an honor to listen to Manong Mamerto's wisdom. As I know that he is well traveled, what differences or commonalities did he observe in the indigenous perspectives on healing and well-being among different cultures and countries? So apart from what you already mentioned earlier, probably Manong on light and interconnectedness.
Thank you. I am so lucky to be able to grow up in a village that is not almost untouched. And then I went to school, and I'm able to travel and attend many workshops, ceremonies internationally. my uh, my aim or my goal right now is to promote world peace. You cannot achieve world peace without achieving inner peace. So it starts with you. That is the common thing. How do you attain inner peace? It's by removing all obstacles. So you may not like to hear this, but even cultural differences is an obstacle. So even just looking at myself as an indigenous person is a wall, is an obstacle because I'm isolating myself from other people. So what I like to say is to respect differences, individual, cultural, but focus on our commonality that we are all connected with delight. It's our birthright. Nobody is disconnected. We just forget about that connection.
Beautiful reminder. So we are all interconnected and peace starts within us. So in relation with peace starting from within us, could you share a verse, or can you share with us a prayer that can help us also, as we end this interview this afternoon, that can help us journey back and experience the peace within us?
Yes, there is a breathing exercise that I had been teaching called embryonic breathing. It's a set of breathing that will bring you back to that embryonic form of you. And when you were an embryo, you are perfect. You don't even have to breathe because your mother breathes for you. Your mother eat for you. You are made of love. You are whole. So, however or whatever technique you use, it's really remembering that wholeness that will bring peace within you.
Can you lead us in this exercise?
Sure. Yeah, it will take just a few minutes. It will take some of you practice, so I will just share it with you, and then after this, you practice on your own. There are five stages. So first, you have to align your spine because that is the main channel of energy. The spinal column has to be aligned, and then you use your diaphragm for breathing. So the first stage is like cleaning your physical body from any stale oxygen or any heavy emotions that you carry. So it's all about visualization. So the first stage, you are going to inhale through your nose. And as you inhale, you imagine inhaling light through your crown. Bring that light all over your body. And then as you exhale, you use the mouth. Exhale through the mouth. And you can imagine dark clouds because you clean your body. Do it 9 times. We don't have to do it right now. I will just describe, but do it 9 times. So inhale through your nose. Imagine light entering your crown. The light goes all over your body, even to the tip of your fingernails and your hair. and then exhale through the mouth. Do it 9 times. The second stage, or the second up to fifth stage, all breathing and exhaling is through the nose. So the second stage, again, you imagine inhaling light through your crown. Inhale the light, take it to your heart. And as you exhale, you bring that light down to your dantian, 1 inch below your navel. Again, do it 9 times. So inhale light through your crown, take it to the heart, exhale, bring that light down to the dantian. The third stage, as you inhale, you imagine inhaling that light from the dantian, bring it up to the heart. And then you exhale, bring it down to the dantian. So again, inhale that light from the dantian up to the heart. Exhale, bring it back to the dantian. Do it 9 times. The next stage, as you inhale and exhale, you imagine expanding that light in your dantian. The last stage will become automatic, that embryonic breathing. The inhalation and exhalation is so slow, deep, and even that when you reach that fifth stage, many of you will experience something magical. I can write these stages and share it with you, and you can share it with the audience if you like to.
That was so powerful, Manong. I just did some of the breathing and I already felt like my entire body was cleansed and all the emotional stresses of the day were gone. So is that from your qigong practice or were you able to develop this yourself?
To make my Ifugao culture as the main, the base of my teaching, I actually developed a Qigong form based from the traditional farming system. I came up with 12 movements that I started teaching. If anybody is interested, we can talk about it later. But
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
it took me 2 years to come up with 12 sets of moves based from the traditional farming of the Ifugao, and it's so powerful.
Okay, so Krista Gabriel is asking, are there Ifugao rituals, healing practices for epidemics, pandemics? Can this still be
Yes,
done in the Ifugao community as well as in other Philippine communities?
yes, there is. During the chicken pox time, for example, there is a ritual that is performed that will protect the community. Uh, there are very, very few shamans now who know the ritual. I learned about it, but I did not try it yet. But yes,
That's very interesting. But I'm very interested in what you just mentioned, that you developed your own practice based on qigong and your rituals in terms of farming rituals. You developed it for 2 years, and how long have you been? I'm sorry. So you've been teaching this already?
I started meditating on it in 2017, and it was in 2019 that I actually put put together this set of movement. So I've been doing it since then. and I started teaching it in Los Angeles, uh, New York, and there's a group in Vancouver who is interested to learn about it.
Very interesting. And speaking of our friends from the US, I think Omera is also watching this afternoon. So thank you to everyone who's tuned in right now. Um, you can give a shout out so that we know where you're joining us from also. And any last words, Manong Mamerto, as we wrap up this interview this afternoon?
I will not say last word because it may mean we will not see each other again. I will just repeat what I said earlier, where there's no right or wrong. Whatever makes you happy, whatever gives you inner peace, you do it, and just respect other practices.
Thank you so much. And we are so grateful um, for to you for saying yes to us today. And we're looking forward to learning more from you in the future. And yeah, so thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon again. And see you every Tuesday for creating space. So if there's any topic you're interested in, you can message our Facebook. And if you would like to ask additional follow-up questions from Manong Mamerto, you can also PM us and we can relate it to Manong. So once again, thank you and see you next week.
Yay, I will not go anywhere. I'll be on earth for a while. Thank you.